Hello, Mixed Nutcases. This is Nuke Chas.
Text log, stardate 61390.71. I actually have nothing to say in the text log. I just wanted to say that because I looked it up. That's the actual stardate for today.
Because you are a super nerd, and I love you for it.
Yes.
Today, we're going to be saying farewell to Lower Decks.
Bye.
We are huge Trekkies, and we wanted to do an episode commemorating one of our favorite shows in the franchise.
Yeah, I think I'll start off by saying what I don't want this episode to be.
Yep.
This isn't a recap, and this isn't a, well, did you know this, and well, did you know that type episode, because I'm going to miss stuff. I'm too excited. It's my favorite TV show. I want to talk about it, and this entire show is based on the idea of shoveling as much nostalgia per episode as they possibly can. I'm going to miss stuff, and there's a lot of stuff about this show that I guarantee you I don't know. Even as big of a fan as I am, I don't know everything about Trek, and I'm going to forget stuff, so I don't want to get well actually'd by somebody for forgetting something. So this is less about, for me anyways, less about Lower Decks, the actual production of the show, and more about how Lower Decks made me feel.
Yeah.
In a send-off. This
is what Lower Decks means to us, because to me, it made me feel good. And I want to share that with everyone.
I did. When I say this was the best Star Trek show, I mean it. This was the best Star Trek show. This is coming from a mega super fan of Next Generation. I mean, is this better than Next Gen? It almost kind of is in a lot of ways. And that's a hill I'm going to have to die on, I guess. And from the sound of silence I'm hearing from the other side of the studio, you disagree with me.
Well, no, I don't disagree. I think you need to have, not that you need to, I think that having your love for Next Gen, for Deep Space Nine, for the rest of Trek makes this so good.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, it's like you can't...
If you're hate watching Next Gen, you're not going to like Lower Decks. I mean...
Yeah. If you're not interested in the stupid little silly things and the little 20th century, hobbies and all the stupid little awesome things that make Star Trek just so much fun and relatable, you're not going to be interested in this. This is not Star Wars on TV.
No, let's explain. If you have no idea, if you're just coming out of your cave on Mars right now, well, hello and welcome to Nutty Bites. But let's talk about Lower Decks for a sec. So, Lower Decks is based in the universe of Star Trek Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, and I think it's just before the Dominion War, I think is when they put it, or is it after the Dominion War? Anyway, it's around that time. It's within the period of the shows that we were watching in the 1990s.
It's after Riker gets the Titan, so
right,
yeah.
And it's instead all the other Star Trek TV shows deal with the captain and the senior bridge officers as they boldly go and encounter new things and fight space aliens and have romantic encounters with green women. This isn't that. This is a riff on one episode of Next Generation called Lower Decks, which dealt with the ensigns that have to deal with the repercussions of the decisions that are made by those senior officers, which is this entire show. So Star Trek Lower Decks is an animated TV show about the young ensigns under the senior officers that have to live with the decisions that they make, done as a comedy. But they're not on the battleship. They're not on the flagship. They're not on the big, shiny new Enterprise. They're on a diplomatic relations ship. They're on the ship that specializes in second contact. You know, the one that comes up afterwards to make sure that you pick the right passcode for your shields and that you signed all the paperwork correctly.
Exactly.
So these are a run-of-the-mill, mundane, average ship, and instead of dealing with the senior officers that have to make all the decisions, you're dealing with the dudes in the lower decks that actually make the ship run, where you can see the big space battle happening behind them in the windows of the ship, or the entire spaceship is being turned into like some type of antique artifact, but they're much too busy getting their actual work done to take notice of the fact that the captain is now 40 feet tall and floating.
Exactly. It's everything that's happening in the background. That's not important. What's important is the, a low level diagnostic that needs to be run or whatever.
Yes, or, what entertainment is available on this starbase, or, who's doing a poetry recital today. Oh, yeah, it's Boimler again doing another poem about his mother called Requiem for a Hug.
Oh.
Oh.
Exactly.
But that's what makes Lower Decks so gosh darn good, is that they take all of these little gags and all of these little insider moments and make episodes about it. And they have fun with it. But, you said something really important at the start there, Nutty, is that having grown up with Star Trek and DS9 as a primer, those were important to you. So Lower Decks plays on that and makes itself important.
Yeah.
So tell me about your journey into Star Trek and why you're in love with it.
So I started with Next Gen with the worst episode, or one of the worst episodes. We can argue over what's the worst episode. Hotel Royale, where they're stuck in a novel hotel. And we were watching it on the little TV. I was watching it with my dad. He liked Star Trek, but I don't think he liked Next Gen at all. Every time we watched anything Star Trek, he just complained that he missed Kirk and he wanted it to be the original series and that it was simpler then. Anyway, but I fell in love. I was like, what is this world? And I started watching from then on. Now, I don't know if I was watching a rerun or what. It took me a little while to get into like the new episodes and the old episodes, but I was watching new episodes and watching reruns at the same time because we had a channel that ran reruns late at night, every night.
Oh, there you go. Double Star Trek.
Exactly. It was great. And then when Deep Space Nine started, I just rolled into Deep Space Nine and continued that one and just kept watching.
I don't remember exactly what episode we watched first, but I do remember watching Encounter at Farpoint with my family, and I think we watched all 7 seasons. We watched them all together. And then we started watching Deep Space Nine, and that's when my family sort of fell off the plot and I kept watching. But we, watched every episode of Next Gen when they came out, and then I'd call my friends and we'd dissect the episodes and talk about the monster or the new spaceship that we saw or the new little detail that we gleaned. And I had a friend that had the Starfleet engineering manual that explained how Bussard collectors worked and what the deflector dish did and how transporters worked. And man, we ripped that book apart reading all that stuff. Yeah, so how did this quirky sci-fi show, like, why is this important, Nutty?
Well, first off, I just want to say I'm very envious of you because I didn't have anyone to talk to about Star Trek. Nobody else was interested in Star Trek until I got to college. And that's how I met Ross. And that's how I got into online chatting and everything else. But nobody wanted to talk about Star Trek, but I loved it so much. For me, it was so important because I don't know, it was just, it was funny. It had drama. It was science fiction. It was out in space, and it just seemed like such a nice world to be in. There is that utopia that is, this better world. And I think that's something that I attached myself onto and I just fell in love with. But when I went to college, suddenly I met people that were interested, and then I fell into fandom and eventually met you in a Star Trek chat room. What I want to say is your line, so I'm not going to say it. I'm going to let you say it.
And even mine, I ripped off of Futurama.
Yeah, but it's true.
It is. I've said it many times on this podcast, but, when Fry is describing Star Trek to his friends, he says, growing up, I didn't have a lot of friends, but sometimes when I watched Star Trek, it felt like I did. And that's entirely what it was. Gene Roddenberry wrote the series as his utopian view of what the future could be like, where you could be absolutely anything. And you could still, whether you're a space alien, a boy, a girl, gay, straight, it didn't matter.
You could be black on one side and white on the other.
Or white on one side and black on the other. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You could be anything and you could still make it work. And with everybody else around you, you could even fly a spaceship to the stars. And that was so much fun, especially as a little picked on kid that I was, that, I could dream for a better future. And Next Gen meant a heck of a lot to me, more than I think a lot of other science fiction did, because of that hope and because of the feeling of camaraderie and friendship that you got from watching the show. And that's, I'll spin to Lower Decks. That's what makes Lower Decks great, is that they're the other Star Trek show that got that feeling right. DS9 had a wonderful familial feeling, but it wasn't the same. Enterprise, not the same. Strange New Worlds, Discovery, they're not the same. Lower Decks understood what it was to be a fan of Next Gen and decided, instead of making a Star Trek show where the science or anything else was important, they made that feeling of nostalgia be the most important thing. And they shoehorn it into every episode, and they make you laugh. They make you laugh like a hyena at the crazy antics that are going on stage. Crew members giving each other sarcastic Vulcan salutes.
Or high-five Vulcan salutes.
High-five Vulcan salutes. And all kinds of crazy, ridiculous stuff that doesn't make any sense, but my gosh, is it funny. And finding all of the little Easter eggs that they jam into every episode make it so much fun to watch, and then watch again, and then watch again.
And I do want to throw on there, this has a lot of rewatchability, because we've rewatched the seasons multiple times already just in the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And it's just so much fun. You could throw it on at any time, and it's a great laugh, and we always find something new. I like what you said about how it is all about the nostalgia, because everything's canon. They reference everything. They reference every movie, every series. We got exocomps, we got the collectors, we got the Packlids, we've got the Cations, we've got the three-armed aliens from the animated series.
Yeah, because this is, being an animated show, they decided to have fun with it and make the really bad, animated show from the 1970s that had 3 of the original cast on it. They used that show and made it canon. So the space aliens, the Cations, and a bunch of other things from that show you find hidden in Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Well, not hidden. I mean, the Cations, the medical officer.
Yeah, but I mean, their reference. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. I can never remember that alien's name, but a reference to that one episode from TNG is a whole character.
The Temerians.
The Temerians. Thank you. But I love everything about that. And if you want, I'm going to plug another podcast here, but All the Asians on Star Trek back in 2022, they did an episode. I think it is their 29th episode. And they talked to the canon consultant on Lower Decks. She's also a writer for Strange New World and Lower Decks, but her job is she's the canon consultant. So she is the go-to geek. She's the one with the deep cut canon questions. They'll say, hey, we want somebody kind of like Klingons, but not Klingons. Oh, let me find another race for you, or let me find a weird reference. And yeah, so she's the reason why, they crank called Agamis, but it's all those little in-jokes. And you might not get every single one, but you're going to get enough of them. It just brings me such joy.
It's so good. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about top moments?
Yeah, let's talk about some of your top moments.
Top moments, Lower Decks. Come on, I got to bring it up first, right? I think it's the season 2 finale when they've been teasing us with the different part, because there's a lot of jokes in Next Gen, a lot of jokes that came out of the canon and the thing that, hey, in Next Generation, where are the bathrooms? You never see a toilet of any kind. People have the little shower room at the back of their quarters, but there's no toilet. Where do they go? So they make this joke. Well, they kind of, Next Gen kind of skirts around the issue in that there's a lot of parts of the ship that you never see. They go to the bar, they go to engineering, but they never go to any of the things that would make an actual starship work.
Yeah.
So they make a joke in reference to Star Trek 4 where they used whales as navigators, that they make a joke that aboard the Cerritos there is cetacean ops, which is a department based on stellar navigation. And I think it was the season 2.
I think so.
Where they in order to save the Cerritos, they have to hit this one power relay that's at the bottom of the pool in Cetacean Ops, and they go, and there's 2 beluga whales in Starfleet uniforms.
Science uniforms,
yeah, Kimalu and Matt.
Yes.
And they squeak and they squawk, and people can understand them, and they are actual space whales.
They're fantastic.
And they're horny.
Yes, and Matt has some
boundary issues.
Yes. Consent issues.
Stop inviting them to skinny dip in the pool. They already said no, you know?
You're making it weird.
Like, it is very, very funny.
That's why Kimalu is Ransom's best friend. He's in his best crew, not Matt. That's a great, absolute great moment. By the way, you were talking about all the things that we never see. We did get the communal shower.
In Next Gen?
No, in Lower Decks.
Oh, yes, of course.
Because they're lower deckers, they share a shower, which is a sonic shower, and they talk about, like, upping the rating, and
when she's trying to be tougher than Jet.
Yes.
So they keep upping the sonic shower on each other.
Yeah, fantastic. But there's so many, like, little things like that. I loved the episode of all the different lower decks. Like, you got the Vulcan lower decks, the Klingon lower decks.
Right. Well, that's the one where we meet T'Lyn.
Yes, it is.
Who ends up joining the crew of the Cerritos. But yeah,
and Ma'a.
Yeah, and Ma'a.
Yeah.
Where they go from fleet to fleet and show that every ship in every fleet is going through the same thing.
Yeah, even the Borg.
Even the Borg.
I love that episode. I love how they've brought up multiple times Riker having a transporter clone, and then we've got a transporter clone
of the main character.
Of one of the main characters. Yep. I think the crossover into Strange New Worlds is definitely a top moment for me.
Oh my god, that was so good.
It's the whole reason I watched Strange New Worlds after that, because I just was like, you know what? They can't be too serious if they had an episode like this.
And the fact that they got, help me out with their names, Tawny Newsome and
Jack Quaid.
To come in and act as their characters from the animated show in the live action show Strange New Worlds, which was kind of weird because, well, Boimler in Lower Decks has purple hair.
Yeah, and Jack Quaid insisted that they get the hair purple.
Yeah, that he wouldn't do it without the purple hair.
Well, I don't think it was, but it was just like, we got to get the purple hair.
Got to get the purple. And they did.
Yeah.
And it was great.
And they even got the little logos on the bottom of his shoes. And
yeah.
Gosh, it was so great. But there's just so much that I loved for those top moments. I also have to throw out there, as a Star Trek role player, as somebody that has read a lot of fan fiction, I really think we ended this. There's going to be some spoilers here, but nothing that'll ruin the series for you. Garrick and Bashir.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that was such a good episode.
Fantastic. Garrick and Bashir and Curzon and Paul. Like, I never knew I needed that, but I needed that. But Garrick and Bashir, I saw somebody write something about how great it is. Like, Andrew Robinson's in his 80s, and he's always played Garrick as gay from the get-go. And he wrote a book about it. He's got a play about it. He has said it from stage one. They brought in, Cial, as like his beard and all this other stuff to actually play that as canon finally.
Yeah.
Like, what must that feel like to him? It's like, finally, I got it.
That's great. I think that's my one of my top moments of all Trek is also in this show, in that one of the things that Star Trek has always done from the very, very beginning in portraying their version of a futuristic utopia is that there's going to be a bunch of things that you're going to think are weird, but they're normal for us. So they're normal for us, so we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Even though in the 1960s it was completely bizarre to have a woman, and a black woman at that, be a senior command level bridge officer on a warship.
Yeah.
They never talked about it.
Nope.
They just Uhura's there. Why? Because she's really good, and that's why she's here. And, they went through all kinds of trouble in the 1960s trying to get the first interracial kiss on television. Or one of the first interracial kisses on television. But, I'll give it for Discovery. Discovery had a romantic gay pairing for at least one of the first times on Star Trek to have it be,
it wasn't a one-off. It wasn't explained by they didn't have gender on that planet.
Yeah, no. It
wasn't I used to be married to you when I was in another host.
Yeah, when I was another type of space alien. No. This is just two dudes in a relationship.
Yeah.
And it was totally fine. And nobody talked about it. It was, their relationship and, them being senior bridge officers had a lot to do with the show. But it wasn't like the purpose of the show. It was just normal in this universe. And
it was as relevant, actually probably even more relevant, like just, or more natural as Keiko and Miles. You know, like nobody says, oh my gosh, look at these two people, this man and woman dating and then getting married. It's,
And Lower Decks decide, and Next Generation, the very, very first episode, there's a man in a skirt.
Scant.
The scant.
Yes.
And he walks by.
Yep.
And nobody does anything about it. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
The big blonde dude just walks right on by.
Last episode of Lower Decks, we've got turban and a hijab.
Yep. Absolutely. And nobody talks about it.
Nope.
Not important. What's important is their visibility. What's important is that it's part of the universe, not that we need to explain why we put it in the show.
Yep. At one point in Lower Decks, we also see somebody with a Geordie visor.
Quite a few times.
Yeah. We see various implements. Rutherford has the
cybernetic implant.
The cybernetic implant. And so at first you think that, it's compensating for something, but then we later find out that he thinks it's elective. We never quite figure. Oh no, we did figure it out. Yep. Sorry, we did. That was season 4,
3 or 4.
But there's everything kind of does get explained. We don't have any gaping holes, which I love. But yeah, there's just so many great moments. We have an exocomp as.
With a mathematically perfect name of Peanut Hamper.
Peanut Hamper. But as a main character, we have an evil computer as a main character. We get to see them have growth.
We get to see them in a romantic relationship of an exocomp and a megalomaniacal supercomputer named Agamus.
I don't know if that was romantic, but they were definitely a strong relationship.
Well, you did get to see the romantic relationship between the exocomp and the bird guy.
Okay, that's going to go into things I never thought I was going to see or needed in Trek.
Oh my god, the crazy bird robot sex.
Oh my god.
That was awful.
It was weird.
Oh, so funny.
It was great though. And honestly, every fan fiction, furry, crossover, whatever, they have found a home here in Lower Decks. Like Lower Decks has hinted at enough things that I don't care what it is, somewhere on AO3, whatever you've written, Lower Decks has hinted at it. Including ship names from our old role-playing room.
Yes. The old Parliament class ships. We had a Toronto and a Vancouver.
Yep. They're out there. Like I had a video game do mine, and then Lower Decks has done a couple of the others.
My old Star Trek Online ship naming convention didn't come up in this though.
No, nobody's got the Gehenna, and nobody's got the.
Well, all my ships were named for different hells.
Yeah.
Right. So the Gehenna, the Hades, the Hell. Yeah.
No, nobody. Maybe that's Section 31. I don't know.
For a bunch of people that are trying to hide and be undercover, why do they have black comm badges?
That's a great point. So what are some things that you never thought you'd see in canon, but we did in this show? I mean, I got mine with the Garrick and Bashir, I'm sure.
Well, there's the Garrick and Bashir. The fact that we got Caitians on a Star Trek show.
Yeah.
The fact that you could pretty much only do that animated without it looking like a bad Cats thing, because they are cat people. We got Cetacean Ops. Which was so funny and completely unexpected. But man, did I need that.
We got to see real nuanced characters. Like, there's a lot of like stereotypes for the different races within Star Trek. The Bajorans are all spiritual, so we get Shax, the tactical officer who always wants to blow up the warp core and is full of rage. But he's also all about peace and
very spiritual
and very and all about protecting people's mental health. And you've got that full character, and then of course is in a relationship with Dr. Ta'ana, the Caitian, and they do really freaky stuff.
Right, and you expect a TV show that has a cat humanoid space alien senior medical officer, that it would be some type of like anime style sexy cat lady. Nope. She has a stub tail. She has ratty ears. She is in a horrible mood. Swears
all the time.
Swears up a storm. But is also fun and funny and in a romantic relationship with Shax, the warp core ejecting Bajoran. And
we got Beta Z spies.
the Beta Zeds. The Betazoids. We got all kinds of fun stuff in this. The disgraced Klingon captain turned delivery driver.
Yes. I will say Ma'a has quite the arc in the entire series. It is fantastic.
We actually got to go to Ferenginar.
Yep, we got to go to Ferenginar. We got to learn a lot more about the Ferengi. We got to even get the weird archaeology stuff from that Picard loved so much. And there's so many.
I'll tell you what. One thing I didn't expect, and I thought the show did really, really good, was our main bad guy for 5 seasons is an alien race called the Packleds.
Oh yes,
the Packleds are from one episode of Next Generation, where they appear to be large, humanoid male, very dim-witted. Geordi's strong. Geordi makes us strong. They're very
Geordi smart.
Yeah, they're very, very, very dull. But remember, this is the Cerritos, not the Enterprise. This is a second-line contact vessel with a very small crew. It's not a warship like the Enterprise. So something like the Packleds would be a serious threat to someone like you. And you know what? They actually make them into pretty legit bad guys. Of course, they play it off for yucks because it's a comedy show, but even somebody like the Packleds can be a pretty substantial threat when they start finding weapons. And
well, and let's not forget, like, for them to exist this long without being conquered, they can't be just completely unsuccessful.
No, when it turned out to make those big decisions, all they needed was bigger hats.
I don't have a big enough hat for this.
I don't have a big enough hat for this.
One thing that really bothered you more than me, but really bothered me about the ending of Deep Space Nine is Rom becoming the Nagus.
Oh, that bothers me so much.
But they address it.
Do they?
Yes.
Well, they address it because they end up making, Lita's the one that's actually in charge.
Yeah, because Lita has the lobes for business, but he's not as dumb as you think, because he's also playing the game. He's like, yep, everybody thinks I don't have the lobes for business, and we're just going to play this game, and then we're going to get everything that we want. And it ended up working out okay.
I'm still not having it.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, I did kind of like that. It also makes you realize that, the Nagus is more of a figurehead. He's not really the guy in charge anyway, which is what I've always thought. It's, more of a figurehead. But, one that can ruin your dreams with a whim because they're Ferengi. Things I didn't know I needed was, the bone sucking Moopsie. Moopsie. Gosh, I love Moopsie.
Yeah, Moopsie, a throwaway villain from a throwaway episode based on an old TOS episode, The Menagerie, where they're aboard an alien zoo and there's this tiny, cuddly, little, adorable, little baby seal-looking thing that goes around and only says one word, its name, Moopsie. But it drinks your bones.
Yep.
Oh, this is the horrible the bunny of doom creature from Monty Python.
Yeah,
gosh, it's funny.
I've seen pictures of people cosplaying with a Moopsie. I want a stuffed Moopsie. I really want a stuffed Moopsie. I know they're out there somewhere. Somebody get me a Moopsie. I didn't know I needed that. I didn't know I needed a culture that is Renaissance Fair themed and Dungeons and Dragons themed, and that their engines run on magic and dragon power. It's all engineering, but it's just worded differently.
Oh yes, with Paul Scheer.
Oh,
as the engineer.
Yeah, but his wife plays his mom. That's weird.
Yeah, but they love doing that weird stuff. I'm seeing quite a few pictures here of different Moopsie cosplays.
Yeah.
My favorite is parents in next gen uniform with their kids dressed up as Moopsie.
Oh, that's adorable.
Moopsie.
You need to put that in the Discord there for me. But yeah, I love that's, okay, so I have never wanted to cosplay as a Federation character because one of the things was the Federation were such stuffed shirts. I could never see myself doing that. But Lower Decks gives me the
You want to cosplay as Moopsie?
No, I'm willing to cosplay as a Lower Decker. Oh my gosh, that kid is adorable. It's a Moopsie onesie. Oh, that's so cute. I also like the backpack with the Moopsie in it. Oh my gosh, these are amazing. So, no, I just, with Beckett being such a rebel and, spending half her time in the brig, bucking the system, following around the Lower Deckers and seeing that they're not just these stuffed shirts and, I know all the regulations, they made the officer seem more human, more relatable. And yeah, I'm willing to cosplay in a Lower Decks outfit. Oh my gosh, sorry. Tech just shared with me. It is a cosplayer. We've got a Captain Kirk style person and a kid as Moopsie, and I think it's the other kid as Peanut Hamper, the Exocomp. That is amazing. Wow.
This one I can't link because it's on Instagram, but it's from a convention comic costume contest. You have that little kid dressed as Moopsie.
Mm-hmm.
You have an adult Borg. You have someone dressed as Spock with a lyre.
Yeah, that's from the episode where the engineer with the Zeus power comes from. Yeah.
And somebody dressed as Armus.
Oh, that's good.
And doing a really good Armus.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Hey, do you want to use the long wave communicator to make fun of Armus?
Oh, things I didn't know I needed. The Klingon adventures a la D&D done with Martok's voice.
Oh, did they get Martok to record all these voices?
And it's like it's a Ferengi program or whatever. That was something I didn't know I needed in canon.
Rolls a 1 in the Dungeons and Dragons game, voiced by Martok. You rolled you try to strike your enemy, but you roll a 1. You slip and fall on your bat'leth. It is not an honorable death.
Since you die by your own hand.
Yes.
Yes, it is fantastic. I loved it. I love that we've got bisexual Beckett. I love that we've got all the different fluidity. It's just everything if you want to see yourself in Star Trek, Lower Decks is going to help you. And that's a great segue. For who do we identify with?
Well, for me, it's kind of a no-brainer because they put me in the show. Except for the fact that I'm not Filipino and I don't speak Tagalog. But the character of Rutherford.
The parts of Rutherford that aren't you, that's okay because Boimler has those parts.
Started off as a street racer, then turned into an engineer. Is afraid of people, so he hides behind his machines.
Especially girls.
Especially girls.
Has trouble with dopamine regulation.
Has an implant with a dopamine inhibitor, Man, that would come in handy from time to time.
Oh yeah.
But no, the character of Samantha Rutherford, how could I not identify with that guy?
When we cosplay, that's definitely who you have to cosplay as. You're totally Rutherford. For me, I think I'm a bit of a mix. I'm a little Beckett, I think. I'm a little Carol Freeman. I'm a little Dr. Ta'ana.
Well,
that's
I think
mostly when I wake up in the morning.
I think you're copping out here.
Oh, okay. Who do you think I am?
Peanut Hamper? No, that's not right.
Oh, come on. Man. Meanie.
No, of them all, I'd have to say you're probably more Dr. Ta'ana than any of them.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that was mostly when I wake up in the morning.
Yes.
I don't have such a foul mouth, though.
Not when you're on the air, you don't.
No, not when, depends on how angry I get. Yeah. I love Dr. Tahana.
Yeah, she's such a good character.
I think my favorite is like every now and then she'll meow or purr or want to eat Beta Zeds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I don't know. Who do I cosplay as? Dr. Tahana?
No, who do you cosplay as? I don't know. I don't think it needs to be one of the canon characters. Like, I'm not going to cosplay as Rutherford.
Oh, you gotta.
Well, I'm not going to shave the stripe into my eyebrow.
Why not? It'll grow back.
In time for work?
Yeah.
Plus, he's a lot younger than me. No, I don't think I'd cosplay. No, I think wearing, to me...
Sorry,
like,
I just looked up Dr. Tahana cosplays, and there's a whole bunch of cats being dressed as Dr. Tahana. People dressing up their cats as
People are dressing up their cats as Dr. Tahana. That's actually not too bad.
That's pretty great. But anyway, you were going to say you're going to be a random science officer that just happens to look like Samanthan?
Engineering, hello. Oh, somebody here has cosplayed as Dr. Tahana in the totem box.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. Sorry, this is making great radio as we're distracted. I'm looking at a crocheted Dr. Tahana. That is amazing.
All right, let's move on.
Let's move on. So, favorite characters?
All of them. But favorite bit parts? Let's say, and gosh, yet again, there's so many of them, but I really have a soft spot for Agamus. Especially because of the brilliant voice acting done by Jeffrey Combs, that they brought him back, so he's now been in every Star Trek.
Do you mean the oil monster Agamus, or do you mean
That's Armus.
Oh, that's Armus. Sorry, Agamus, the evil robot.
Yeah, the megalomaniacal computer. Yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah. He's great. He's so great. The voice actor acting quality and everything. Like, that character is fantastic. I think what I like is every time we get like a bit part, they find a way to make it not just a joke, not just a one-note joke, like Dr. Miglimo. Dr. Miglimo with the food puns, and he's a bird, and he's the therapist, and it's like, he seems like such a joke. But then as you go on, you see that he's really helpful. He ends up being a great mentor for Tendi. He helps Carol and Beckett with their relationship problems. And then all the food puns end up making sense when you meet the rest of his race, that they're a food-driven culture.
Yes, and they're all horrible.
Yeah, well, there is that. But I just think it's so neat to have all of these bit parts are just built up into better people.
I think one of my favorite characters as well, I got to bring up Captain Carol Freeman.
Yeah.
Yet again, due to the voice acting, because that's Don Lewis, who's
I love Lewis.
Been one of my favorites for such a long time.
Yeah.
And the role in this of being not only being the captain, but also being the mother of the problem child of the crew.
Yes.
And trying to keep everything contained while not showing any favoritism to your daughter, who has to be thrown into the brig again. I love that the brig cell that she's in, she's got like graffiti scratched on the wall of like a little castle, and it's like, what is it again? It's like her fort or something.
Yeah. Basically, she's made the brig her own space.
Yes.
Yeah. Carol is awesome. I want to be Tendy's best friend. I want to be buds with Tendy.
I didn't bring up Tendy.
Because she breaks your heart?
Oh my God, the crush I have on Tendy is awful.
But who doesn't want to be that positive?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't. But like, her outlook on life is fantastic.
Well,
I love it.
She's an Orion pirate royalty who had everything in her world but didn't want it, and gave up the life of, murdering and swashbuckling to join the utopian Starfleet and be that utopic. She's just that cheerful.
And she brought it back to the Orions. Because when she goes back to be the Empress of the Winter Constellation, and she's got her own
Mistress of the Winter
Constellation.
Thank you very much.
And she's got her own ship again, and they're not killing everybody, and they're like, actually, I kind of like this. I like not having to kill people all the time. I love that. I think my favorite though was the first time we see her just out and out be Bamf on Deep Space Nine when she takes that guy's tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, one of the great things about this show that I'm going to bring up now in like one of my favorite things is they didn't get rid of the MacGuffins.
No.
In that every episode they have to eject all the hull plating off the ship or use a guy's gold tooth to power the machine or I don't know, inverted tachyon pulse to something or other. They always have to find
something.
The stupid Star Trek sci-fi solution, but then explain it with a stupid metaphor that I'll like putting too much air in a balloon.
Oh, and I'm on a farm. You can't stop the river, but you can build a dam.
But you can dam it. Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. There's so many good little.
They kept the formula. You know, they got the formula right, and they kept going with it, and I love that.
Yeah. Everything that was great about it, everything that was hopeful about it, that's what Lower Decks has continued to deliver, and they got their full story. They didn't get canceled. They didn't get ended. They got to tell their whole story. And it was 5 seasons, right? So 5-year mission?
Yeah, well, 5 seasons, but 5 12-episode seasons. So
yeah, that's okay.
I really think one of the reasons that they stopped the show when they did is that they couldn't let the most successful Star Trek show of all time be the cartoon. I think that would have angered a couple of people. Possibly.
I will say that not a single episode was wasted. There was no monster of the week. Like anytime it felt like something was a one-off episode, as we got to the finale, it all came back.
Yeah, they were very good at that in that every season is an arc and they tell a definite story and that every episode is tied into that arc, but most of the episodes, like they're not chronological.
Yeah.
Except for like the last couple of every episode, but most of the episodes you can watch one of and kind of get the joke, but they always throw in a little kicker at the end or something that sort of ties it back into the main story that they're going for that season. And I'm okay with that. I really wish they were 24 episode seasons and I wish there was 5 of them.
Yeah.
And then I wish there was 5 more. Gosh darn it, I love this show.
It is a great show. I also think it's been great at how many of the original actors they got to come back.
Almost all of them.
And do cameos. Yeah. I mean, hey, what's his name that does Tom Paris and the other character got to be on twice. Locano. Yeah, Nick Locano got to be on twice.
Robert Duncan McNeil.
That's it. I would have gotten it all multiple choice. He got to be on twice, and
well, the joke there is that the character of Nick Locarno from that episode in Next Generation, he was supposed to be the Tom Paris character in Voyager.
Yeah,
and they cast him to play that role, but then they decided that the character of Locarno, being the fact that he had been disgraced from the Academy in the show, that they didn't want this guy.
They didn't want a murderer to be a bridge member. Yeah.
Yeah. So they kept the same actor.
Meanwhile, they had Kira Nerys.
Oh, she's a freedom fighter.
Uh-huh. Yeah, she's killed lots of people, though.
But she's a freedom fighter. That's okay.
Oh, gotcha.
She's fighting for the independence of her country planet thing.
I mean, yeah, but she's also a murderer. But yeah, I loved having everybody on. Garrett Wang got to have probably the most cameos, but it was all in one episode.
Yes, the infinitely replicating series of Harry Kims, including that one that they all hate because he got promoted to lieutenant.
I love that none of them seemed to be bothered, but that they weren't promoted. They're like, what? Other things were more important.
Well, no, they're just mad at the one that did.
Yeah. So we've answered before on the show many times before. Who in Star Trek would you like to serve under? And I want to know, does Lower Decks change your answer?
No, I still don't want to serve under Janeway.
I still don't want to serve under Janeway, but as your captain.
I gotta say that, yeah, because I'm gonna add another one to the list. Mm-hmm. If I have to be on a bird of prey, I want it to be Maz.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's pretty decent. Yeah.
I think Martok would end up having me killed or getting me killed. I mean,
I'm not sure I want to be serving under Carol Freeman. I still think Picard would be best for me, my survivability. But I also, and I still think that Cisco would be best for my career because he's a good mentor. I think that Carol is sometimes a little reactionary, but you know what? I wouldn't mind. I'll put her in like top 3. I'll put her in the top 3 of the existing captains. Honestly, I think Ransom would be a great captain. I would not mind serving under Ransom. Watching him
engage the core.
I would definitely be like, are you kidding me? But watching him work with Beckett, yeah, I'm in. I mean that he has creative leadership, and he knew that she needed something different.
Well, they went through that entire episode where where he's trying different leadership styles on Mariner, and it's doing nothing but annoying her, but it ends up working in the end.
Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh, or with him playing incompetent on the Delta, the Delta shift.
What was that? Sorry?
When he acts all incompetent on the Delta shift, so they end up solving the problem on their own.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. I think he wouldn't be a bad boss. I would not be friends with him, but I don't need to be friends with my boss. Honestly, I don't want to be friends with my boss. I want my boss to be my boss. I definitely want Tendi to be my best friend, like I said. I want to be science besties with Tendi.
Science besties.
Yes, science besties. Sorry, Talin, I'm taking over. But yeah. And I also think that Lower Decks changes all the hottest people in Star Trek. All the hottest people in Star Trek are animated.
Tendi, top of the list, number 1.
Yeah, I mean, top of the list. One of the things that I love about Lower Decks, and this is a problem that I've seen with a lot of Star Trek, is that they keep trying to gain a new audience. And instead of writing to their fans, they're writing to get new fans, and they alienate their fans. In Lower Decks, they did not care about new fans. They just wrote a love letter to all of the Trekkies, and I think that's one of the reasons why it was so popular.
Yep, and made a show that was so successful they got 5 seasons out of it. Meanwhile, trying to go for the new audience gets a show canceled in 2. So how's that working out for you?
Yep.
I've said it since Next Gen. We're here, and we have money.
Yeah.
And we want to give it to you. Make the show that we want to see, and we will give you a ridiculous amount of money.
Yep.
You got 5 seasons out of this show because you proved my point for me.
Can we now get what I've been asking for years, which is just a bunch of mini-series? Give me Star Trek Khitomer. Give me Star Trek Beta Z. Give me all the different areas of Star Trek, and let's see what's going on.
Yep, and the miniseries on Ferenginar has to be a buddy cop show about cop landlords.
You mean what we saw in the clip? Yes, absolutely. So, by the way, I did look it up, and because I know somebody's going to go, well, actually, Lower Decks takes place right after Nemesis.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so that gives me a good idea of where everything is, which is awesome. That's right in that sweet spot, and you got to have something good after that because not so great. I think one thing that I thought was really nice is we got to see Data again. We got to see Data as Data. Geordi is my friend.
We got to see Data. We got to see Riker as captain of the Titan. Patrick Stewart didn't come back in this, did he?
I don't think so, but I think that was probably because he was working on Picard.
Nah, probably.
Patrick Stewart was not in Lower Decks, but I believe there are 2 references to Picard. One, Captain Freeman Day.
There's a lot of references, but yes, Captain Freeman Day.
The Archaeologist Guild.
Oh, of course.
He's been funding, returning things to music, the people. And
stuff. that was also Vache.
Yeah.
That they were talking about.
Yeah.
Which I've always thought was a strange name because that's the French word for cow.
Yeah, as a Frenchman, you'd think he'd be like, interesting. You know what, though? It's space. No, I'm sure he's run into a dozen cows by now.
But then in between seasons, one of the season openers is Boimler back on the family vineyard.
The Raisin Vineyard.
Yes.
Yes. And we get to...
Bradward, would you like to taste the sweetness of my bushel?
No.
No, leave me alone.
He understands boundaries in the workplace, okay?
I love this show. I love everything about it. I wish there was 5 more seasons just this long. I laugh like a loon. I watch every episode. I try to dissect and find all the little jokes because, man, there's stuff hidden everywhere. Another great gag that I got to bring up about this show is the inconsistencies in pronunciation of names, which is a problem that they have with the actors on the show, on many shows,
Yes.
and that they hang a lantern on it every time. So there's a space alien that looks like a big hairy white gorilla called a Mugato, or a Mugatu, or a Mugutu, or a Bugato, or a Gumato.
They say it different every time.
They say it different every time because that's the mistakes that they made in the original series, and they just kept running with the gag. There's the fact that some
Sensors.
sensors. Some actors chose to elongate the vowel sounds a couple of times for dramatic effect, and then they roll along with it where there's some characters that pronounce it sensors, and people are going, why are you saying that? That's weird. That's weird. And they even subtitle it as 2 words.
Yeah.
Sensors. Very funny.
Oh, I also have to mention the koala.
Okay, we're going to talk about the koala?
I just have to mention it. That the koala, to me, is... you talk about how they kind of hang a lantern on a bunch of things. It's, why is Shax back? Well, lots of senior staff come back from the dead all the time. And
First thing you have to talk about is the Black Mountain.
yeah, there's all of this, and it's like, you don't actually want to know this stuff. The other thing is, remember I said I couldn't remember who my favorite guest star was? Well, I'll tell you who my favorite guest star or guest character was. Badgie.
Badgie.
Badgie is awesome. And Goodgie and Logicy and all of them.
Oh, such a good gag. And thank you for the Badgie Christmas tree ornament.
Yes. And the Goodgie.
Yes, I got Badgie and Goodgie as Christmas ornaments this year.
They're awesome.
Very happy about that.
But yeah, I think that this was probably the best treat we could have gotten, and I'd love to see more hopeful, brightly lit Star Trek coming in the future.
Not everything needs a dark and gritty reboot. Okay, we discovered this a few years ago now.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to be...
Keep Zack Snyder away from my Star Trek.
Yeah, and the rest of them. And I didn't like the Red Matter Universe movies, and I don't want everything to look like the Red Matter Universe movies. I'm looking at you.
Discovery?
The other one.
Strange New Worlds?
Strange New Worlds. I don't know. It's not for me. But, we haven't talked about the new animated one. We watched one episode, but you still got to finish
Prodigy?
That. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like Prodigy. I mean, it was interesting, and I know it only got 2 seasons, and I think it ends up getting cut off before it's done. But I think that, kind of like a Star Wars Skeleton Crew, it feels like it's written for a younger group, which is fine. I'm not saying that I won't watch it, but yeah, we gotta get back to that and finish that up.
So that's what I thought about Lower Decks.
We loved it. We loved Lower Decks, and we just wanted to take some time to talk about it because it was that meaningful to us. So let us know what you thought, and as always, thanks for listening.
Engage the core.
Engage the core. Oh, what would be... Okay, wait. Before we sign off, What would be your let's go to war?
Fire.
Ooh. What? Wouldn't that get confusing?
No, it'd be totally fine.
How about fire for effect?
Well, I don't know. In all of my role-playing ships, I was always the only crew member, remember?
That's true. So it's not...
I don't like people.
You don't have to voice command then. You can just do it.
Hey, Siri. Hello, computer.
Let's go already. How's that?
Let's go. The accordion going, yeah. Right. What would be your phrase?
I asked the question and I didn't even think about it for myself.
So something sailboaty. Would you like unfurl the mainsail or something? I don't know.
Ooh, no, it'd be like Helmsley or something like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, some sort of riff off of Helmsley or Helmsley or yeah. I like that. See, you picked it for me.
Yeah, say it with boaty talk.
Oh man, I would be such an annoying captain because I would have like all the little ships in my office, and I would have like, all the old school ship stuff and and little sailboats, and I'd have like sextant.
That one print that's got like the pieces of rope in it all tied into the knots, the different knots that you need. And
oh yeah. Like I'd be in the bar tying ropes and teaching kids how to tie knots and stuff.
There's a fender hung over your desk.
Yeah, like exactly.
How do you need fenders?
I'm very klutzy. Okay.
The old like the ones that are made out of rope that are all like wound together. Yeah. Not one of the inflatable ones.
Oh, and no, my entire office would be teak. Okay, teak and brass, and I would still have the bosun's whistle as I got on. Yeah, exactly, just like the original series.
But oh man, oh yeah. Well, you know what? You keep talking like that. You know what's coming next. Oh yeah, and what are you gonna do, Commander? That's it. 3 days, you're polishing all the teak in the captain's ready room. Ah, not the teak again.
You're polishing all the brass and restaining the teak.
Yeah.
Yep. Cleaning and staining the teak. You got it. Ah, so annoying.
That takes forever.
Also, can't we just like program the tricorders to do it? No.
Nope. We tried that. She knows.
She noticed.
She noticed. So no, we can't.
Difference. Yep. Yeah. So that would be Helmsley. Absolutely. I know it's not exactly right, whatever, but I'll keep workshopping.
I was really scared you were going to do the really bad next gen one with the second star on the right and straight on till morning thing.
No, I'm not doing Peter Pan.
Good.
Look, if I'm going to steal from anyone, I'm going to steal from Bender, and I'll just say, "Let's go already." I love that.
Nutty Bites is produced by Nimlas Studios under a Creative Commons Attribution No Commercial Non-Derivatives 3.0 International License. That means you can't change it without my permission. You can share it and send it to your friends. Just link back to me, my site, and everything. We live at nimlas.org, which has links to everything social media, including facebook.com/group/nuttybites and patreon.com/nukejoss, or call 347-NUTTY42.